Hi, welcome back to another Insider, and we start the month of June. We are almost reaching the middle of the year. Unbelievable. So today we are going to talk about culture and how culture affects us as translators and the translation industry. So come with me and let's see how culture affects translation. So let's talk about cultures. And of course, in any aspect of life, the culture or the cultural background that we might have has all sorts of influences in the decision-making process and how we make decisions and how we do things, because of course that culture sets out our values, our core values. We were brought up in a certain culture with certain values, and that translates in the way that we perceive the world, the way that we make decisions, and of course, if we are running a business, translation or otherwise, that will have also an influence. We'll be talking about this today because I want to talk about the way I see that culture may affect translation. This is solely a personal opinion based on things that I have seen, not just in translation, but working with other fields within the Portuguese community and the Portuguese culture. I've seen that people in other cultures, colleagues in other cultures, have reported similar things happen as well. So it might be not just unique to the Portuguese culture. I strongly believe it isn't, but it is one of the things. And the way that the Portuguese culture or the way that we perceive things within the Portuguese culture is affecting some aspects of our life and the way we run our business in translation. So, my personal view, working with the Portuguese language, working with the Portuguese community more broadly, I have worked directly with the Portuguese community in another capacity. I was working with also an importing business, so I could see the Portuguese community, or working with the Portuguese community, in two different industries, into very different industries. Translation industry is a service industry. The importation industry obviously is a product industry, is a sale. I was working for a wholesale business, and of course the dynamics are totally different. But you see a common denominator, if you like, that you see in both sectors, in both businesses. You see that common denominator. I have found a few issues which I identify definitely that are due to certain cultural values and the background. Those values in the background are obviously leading to certain decisions that may not be the best decisions. Well, I am obviously not talking about importation or a wholesale business, or any business for that matter, of that kind. I am obviously just talking about translation because it's the one that I run, it's the one that I have been for most time, and the one I have more experience. I'm not going to talk about the other business because I left and I was not, obviously I'm not going to talk about it. I believe that one of the most flagrant examples of these things is the way we perceive our peers. And this is the common denominator that I found. it's not uncommon for Portuguese translators or for Portuguese business people in general to perceive their peers or everyone that is in the same industry as competitors. Of course, if you are running an wholesale business, that may be the case. So I'm not going to talk about that on that aspect, but I am talking about translation. And so because they see everyone else as competitors, they might refuse to discuss issues openly, fearing that the other person is going to use it to their advantage. Pricing is definitely one of them. I think pricing is the one that may cause more issues in our industry, so much so that I currently call it the big elephant in the room, because that's what it became, the big elephant in the room. And this may be, or at least in the Portuguese community, it might be one of the causes. It might be that cultural value and the way that we might be perceiving our peers. Well, this is my conclusion. My personal experience, it's rather different. I don't see my colleagues as competitors. I don't think that in reality, most of us have that attitude at all. I think most colleagues are happy to help each other. That's why, it's part of our code of ethics, professional solidarity. Most of us, or a lot of us, enroll to things like the mentoring program with OSIT. We are part of OSIT. We have lots of events, networking events. We have the conference. We have all sorts of things that will definitely be a way of helping each other. We have, I have plenty of colleagues that created groups on social media where we can ask questions to each other, where we can discuss things to each other, and have discussions and things like that. So I don't think, or at least I don't think that the new generation is perpetuating that view, which I welcome, by the way. I think we should not see each other as competitors. Yes, we are doing or running the same type of business. We might be sort of fighting for the same client, but I think that there is a space for us out there, and we can all work together and achieve things together. And related to the question of pricing and the way that this perception or this idea may be causing more issues than anything else, it's because refusing to discuss things openly, which I don't think it's price fixing. We're not telling other colleagues, hey, let's put a price on our services and everyone charges the same. That is not the idea of discussing things. Discussing things is discussing ideas, having an open discussion about it. I don't think it's something that it's more for, seasoned translators like myself. I've been in the industry long enough. But having said that, I am still very anxious every time I need to move my pricing. Because, as I said, is that big elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, no one wants to discuss, and leads to all sorts of issues. Period. So I think having these sort of discussions, even though it might help also seasoned translators like myself, but it will definitely help new translators that are now starting their careers. And I know for a fact, because I lived through it, that when you start, and quite frankly, we don't have much information, or we don't have much training in regards to setting prices and things like that, or at least I did not have that. If we have that discussion, we encourage our peers, our younger peers, the new translators, the new generation of our sector, the new generation of our industry, to value themselves and price themselves accordingly. It doesn't matter what price they decide that is their price. We still might think that they are not pricing themselves correctly, but at least if we have this discussion and if there is a guideline that tells them, look, you need to value yourself, you need to count with your expenses, you need to count with your salary, you need to count with your superannuation, you need to count with all of these things when you do your pricing. We empowering them to be more confident to do it, because that's what I say to all my mentees, and that's what I say even when on my mentees on my personal mentoring program, on my courses, and also in my OSIT mentoring program, which I'm a part, and I'm very, very proud and happy to be a part of it, that just because you are starting your career does not mean that you are not skilled. Yes, you may have less experience, but you have the skills. And the same way that you might learn with someone like me that has been in the industry for a very long time, that's definitely true that I will learn a lot from you as well, because you just came possibly out of university. You have a lot of information about possibly new technologies, new processes, new methods, that I obviously acquire that information through my PD, and you just have it on your course, on your qualifications. So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. And I don't think in any industry, someone that is studying have no skills. They have no experience, and experience is a different thing from skill. So it's something that I always tell to my mentees, and I want to stress this because it is important to stress that people should value themselves and should value the work that they do and the value they had to their clients in our case, because that's what we do. When we translate, let's take for an example of a website. When we translate a client's website, we are adding value to that client. We are adding the value that that client is now able to expand to another culture, to another country, and do business with that country and possibly get a great or a very healthy profit margin out of that country. So, and that was enabled by us, the translator that sat down in their desk, translating that website for the client in a way that is fluently translated, that is culturally acceptable, and that the other side, on that other country, on that other culture, they are going to access that website, read that website, and they're going to feel that it was just built for them. It was not even translated. It was just built from scratch for them. And that's the purpose of it. So think about it. This is the value that we add. If we are translating a document, a certified translation for a document that is part of an application with, for example, in my case, the Portuguese government, we are adding value because we are enabling that client to go ahead and do that application and possibly have it successfully accepted. So I think this is what we should think before we put ourselves down and before we think that experience means no skill. That's not the truth. I do not believe that, and I do not accept such a premise because I don't think it is correct to say it. And it is not correct at all. And I think that discussion is never a bad thing. Never a bad thing. Because if we talk openly about things, if we discuss matters, we may have different opinions. Yes, that is expected, but that's how we grow. In my view, if you have different opinions and if you have a discussion where different points of view are brought to the table, that is a great opportunity for everyone involved to grow and to see other perspectives and open horizons and have different points of view. If we are always closed into our own point of view and think that we have the best point of view in mind and everyone else is wrong, we don't grow. We just stagnate and we don't grow. We just stay. And we are not open to new ideas. We are not open to growth. We are not open to those horizons to be open, those other ways, our paths that we can take to be open and let us go. So that's why I spoke about this today. I think, obviously, this is a personal opinion. This is a personal analysis from working with the Portuguese community in different sectors, as I said, where I found this common denominator. It's that idea that other people are going to take advantage if you say something, if you make yourself vulnerable, sort of speak, they are going to take it to their own advantage. And I don't see that happening in translation. Of course, there's going to be good and bad everywhere. There's going to be good translators, bad translators, good professionals, bad professionals, but that happens everywhere. It does not happen just in one profession. It's all across the board. And we know that, unfortunately, that is a fact. But if we are going to close ourselves because of a few bad apples that there might be, and we are not going to be open to discussion, open to our own development, and indeed the development of our sector and our profession, to the valuation of our profession and our sector, I think it's a very sad thing to do. And it is a very limiting existence, because we don't allow ourselves to grow first, and we are not helping our sector to grow. And then I see all of this happening, this lack of discussion, this refusal, sort of speak, but then the complaints about people devaluing themselves and underpricing. So, and this still taking the price as an example, because this I think it's the biggest problem. So I think discussion is the best, it's the way to go. And I think if we do have this discussion, if we do talk about things, it's not price fixing, it's not telling others what to charge, it's not telling others what to do. It's just giving younger professionals the idea of how it's done, what you should take into account when you do it, what you should value, what you should do. If you are specialized in a certain field, if you are not, what is the room for improvement in your current system? Is there room for improvement? Are you doing it the best way, or could you use a little bit of improvement there? This is what it means. This is what it means is, if you open your horizons and if you discuss things, and if you know things, and if you know how other people are doing it, you can take ideas from everyone, and everyone can take ideas and everyone can improve. Not necessarily price fixing, not necessarily set something for everyone. No, just discussing ideas. And this is, the pricing is just one of the examples, because it's one of the biggest. As I said, I call it the big elephant in the room, because that's what I call it, because this is definitely how I see it. But there's other issues. There's other issues that sometimes people block themselves off. They don't want to talk about it. They make it a taboo. They just refuse to discuss things openly because such and such, because this and that, and it's going to be taken in the wrong context, or someone gonna take advantage of. I don't think that is positive for the profession at all. I don't think that is professional also, and I don't think that is positive for the practitioner in particular, because I think if we have good communication, I think this is kind of the contradiction of it all. We are translators and we facilitate the communication between cultures. And here we are having some issues for lack of communication within our own culture. And this is a really sad thing that I wish we can overcome and evolve. As I said, I don't see it as much. I see a lot of, collaboration, a lot of help between peers, and that's a very positive thing. Unfortunately, there's still some pockets of issues like this, and I hope in the future that subsides. And that's all for today. I hope you liked this first Insider of June. I hope, if you have any subject that you would like to suggest, or if you have an opinion about this, if you work in another language pair with another community, do you feel the same type of issues I described for the Portuguese community? Do this happen? Is pricing the big elephant in the room for your language pair as it is I see for Portugal and for the Portuguese? Let me know. It's very important, I think, that we start this discussion and we start seeing it as a part of making business rather than a myth or a taboo or that big elephant that is in the room. And I've been asking you for a while now, please put a like in the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new Insider every week. Most of you are coming and watching my content. I'm very grateful for that. The channel is growing and I'm really happy. But please, if you put a like, if you do a comment, or if you subscribe the channel, you will help my channel grow even more and the algorithm to spread the message and show my content to more people. So that's why I ask you. It's totally free, and it'll be a very good thing for me and for the channel. So please do that. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.